Hello, Excel students. It is Jenny, and I am here today to talk to you about self-concept and evaluating strengths and weaknesses. How we perceive ourselves determines a lot about how we operate in the world, and so considering these things are really important. When we talk about self-concept, we're talking about how you see yourself, how you treat yourself. And that started from the time you were born until you were about 7. Your brain was busy absorbing messages from the world around you about who you are and what your value is. And for a lot of us, that was a really positive experience. We had parents that were in a good place emotionally, that gave us a lot of really good messages around who we are and that we're capable of functioning and being successful in the world. Some of us, like me, didn't have parents that either had their own healthy self-concept or were in a place in their lives where they could make us feel really valuable and really safe. And if that's you, you may struggle with self-esteem or in believing in your own ability to make change or reach goals. And in that way, considering your self-concept and giving yourself the right messages can be a really empowering thing to helping you be more successful. Now, I've chosen to do this video message today to talk with you guys about this because I think it's important that we consider how we relate in the world. You know, so often, we like to say that there are external things that control what has happened. You know, I don't like this teacher, so I am not going to be good at this class. Or there's just not enough time, and so I'm not going to be able to do this. But the reality is all those issues go back to your own belief in yourself that you can be successful. And, you know, we have to look at how we operate in the world, and we have to understand that the decisions we make and how we spend our time is more important and more influential about what happens than any of those things that we can't control. At the end of the day, your responsibility is to do your best with the tools that you have, and the outcome will follow from there. And sometimes it'll be good and sometimes it won't. So when we talk about strengths and weaknesses, I think the typical exercise is for you to sit down and write down some things that you think are positive about yourself and write down some weaknesses. And that in and of itself is actually really helpful and useful. But there is this myth in American culture that if we talk negatively about ourselves, that we will improve ourselves. And maybe that was part of your experience with teachers or your parents in the past. Like if you have a failure on a test, then, you know, you may say to yourself, oh my God, I'm never going to be good at math. I'm never going to be able to get this done. I didn't manage my time well. And we believe that punishing ourselves verbally in our own minds in that way will actually improve our performance. The truth is the opposite is the case. The best thing you can do for yourself to help yourself succeed is to actually recognize the places and the strategies that you employ that are successful and dwell on those. Now, it is important to be able to look at strategies that did not work and change them. That's called being resilient, right? So, you know, if you leave it to the last minute and you find you can't pull it off and you don't make a great grade on your math test, that doesn't mean you're not good at math. That means you didn't manage your time well. Don't spend time beating yourself up about it. Do spend time figuring out why you didn't manage your time well, and then work on changing those variables. Seeing yourself this way and treating yourself with compassion and love rather than beating yourself up actually makes a huge difference to your own sense of self and to your own belief about how successful you're going to be in the world. So here's what I want you to do today to start to take stock of your strengths and weaknesses. Because again, evaluating what you're doing in the world and comparing it to what you're trying to do, that is really important, okay? That helps you make more effective strategies. But tearing yourself down, giving yourself a negative message about what you can or cannot do, or internalizing what may have already been an existing message from people around you that you won't be able to succeed. Those things aren't good. So you're going to get a piece of paper and you're going to start with your strengths. And I want you to sit quietly for a minute or two before you start this exercise. I want you to sit. I want you to take some deep breaths, about 2 minutes. I want you to just kind of sit and breathe in and out and just focus on your breath, okay? At the end of that 2 minutes, I want you to take, a minute and write down some things that you really like about yourself, things that just are really great. You're loyal. You are funny, you have good time management, or you have a gift with writing or words or whatever it is, or you're wonderful with children. Something, make this list of things that you are really good at. Could be a lot. It could be tasks that you're good at, areas of study that you're good at. It could be more personal qualities about yourself, like you're creative, things like that. Write them all down, all of them, and spend, 2 to 3 minutes. It can feel weird at first, and you may just sit there. If you get stuck, think about compliments that other people have given you and start there. But then, pretty quickly shift it off into your own feelings about yourself. Once you've done that, I want you to then consider weaknesses. But I don't want you to write down anything that is self-destructive or is finite, meaning I am bad at X. That's a very finite statement, okay? And it's probably not even a true statement. That's an important thing to recognize. But it might be something that you want to improve, okay? For me, it can be, time management. I've got a lot going on. I like to think that I can remember everything in my brain. I can't. I've had to acknowledge that writing things down and keeping checklists really help me. So what I might write down is, I need to improve my time management. See, that's a very different statement to myself than I'm terrible at time management. You see, one is a finite thing that isn't going to change, I'm terrible. And the other is something that invites a strategy, like, how could I improve it? Oh, maybe I could use checklists. Maybe I could write things down. So you want to frame your weaknesses in a way that there is the possibility of change. And then maybe under each one, you could come up with just 1 or 2 simple things that might be helpful. So we've got our list of strengths, things that we're going to appreciate about ourselves, things that we're going to really enjoy about ourselves, and things that we might rely on to solve some of these other things that we've written down, these things we would like to improve. Think of it more in that way versus weaknesses, because nothing about you is fixed. You are all the potential in the world. You can literally do anything you set out to do, but you have to give yourself the right messages. You have to be realistic about spending your time, and you have to cultivate practices that feed your soul and feed your value. So I think strengths and weaknesses can be a really personal thing. We have a culture that puts a lot of value on that. You might hear it called the meritocracy, where we feel like we have to earn everything good that we ever have. And for that reason, I don't want you to turn these in. These are private, and this exercise is for you. But what I would like for you to do is to spend a minute when you're done and just react to this process and notice what came up in you. Was it easy? Did you have a clear idea? Did you have to think? Did you notice yourself when you were addressing the weakness category, slipping into a self-dialogue that wasn't healthy or productive? Do you recognize that maybe that inner voice came from people outside of you? And maybe you would like to change that by giving yourself different messages. You can respond with a video message. You can write very briefly, a paragraph about your experience with this exercise and turn it into Dominique. Let me know how it goes. If you have any questions or there's anything else I can do to help, let me know. Thanks, guys.